Greetings, Cleveland, and welcome to Creative Focus, the show that illuminates some of Cleveland's most talented and creative artists across the genres of film, dance, music, theater, and visual arts. I'm your host, Cornell Calhoun III, and I'm thrilled to have as my guest today on Creative Focus, award-winning artist, director of the Yards Project, Miss Liz Maugans. Liz, welcome to Creative Focus, girl.
Thank you.
Chop it up.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm just thrilled.
And so am I. I have to admit that our dear friend, Christopher Johnston, said, you've got to get Liz on your show. You got to get Liz on your show. So boom, here you are. I got to get him a finder's fee or something because he's brought me so many incredible artists like yourself. So you're a Cleveland native, went to Lakewood High School.
Lakewood High School, yep.
I was a
Lakewood girl, and we were just talking about playing basketball, and I would say I loved it. I wasn't an exceptional player, but...
Like you said, you were the defensive stopper.
Exactly.
And you have a twin.
I have a twin sister, and she and I did have that sort of twin thing going on where from playing so much together, I knew, she knew when I was going to give her an assist. We just had that kind of, ESP.
When's the last time you played? When's the last time you picked up a ball?
I play a lot in my backyard still.
Okay.
Anything from playing pig with my 15-year-old to just some pickup games to show my kids that I still got some chutzpah.
Okay, so you graduated from Kent State.
I graduated from Kent.
And then you went to Cranbrook Academy of Art.
Yes.
That's in Michigan, right?
Yes, that's in Bloomfield Hills.
Okay.
And so I feel a huge kinship between Cleveland and Detroit. I went into Detroit a lot during that time. And so it's my sort of second city that I love. So
when did you realize you had all this artistic creativity?
So I knew that I was going to be an artist when I was 5. But it didn't shake out until a little bit later. But when I was 5, I was sitting at a family friend's house doing a drawing. And I was one of those kids that used to draw with my tongue while I was drawing my doodle. And there was a picture of me that was taken during that time, and I was in a little dress with smocking on it. And so years later, I saw a picture by another artist, internationally well-known artist named Fairfield Porter, and it was a drawing called Lizzie's Drawing, and it almost resembled that picture. And it was then that I was like, oh my gosh, I think, it feels good. I really like being able to conceive something. It was almost magical. And then I found out also too that one of my favorite Cleveland artists, whose name is Lawrence Channing, Fairfield Porter was his uncle. So, Lawrence and I share the same birthday.
Wow.
So lots of really interesting kismet things that were going on.
So is your sister an artist too?
No, I think we are definitely left side, right side of the brain. She's a nurse, and she excelled more in science and mathematics. Biology was her major, and she's a nurse out in the Seattle area.
Okay.
And then I just had more of the writing and arts. Right side of the brain.
So, what role do you believe artists play in society? How would you address that?
I think art gives life its teeth. I think that we all too often find ourselves being in a place because we might have a job there. But I think it's also really important to understand that people want to go and do things, and they want to go and eat at a great local restaurant, and they want to be able to go and listen to great music. And I really believe that art affords us a place that we feel connected to.
Mm-hmm.
And I also think that it really shapes us as human beings. It allows us to celebrate voice and ideas and perspective and experience. And when we're able to do that through our music or dance or theater or visual art, I think all of those kinds of things are so, within all of us. I think that they are the catalyst for why we get up every day.
So what themes do you pursue when you are in that creative mode? Are there certain themes that you concentrate on, or is it just like a dream? It just comes to you and you start to create?
I'm a big eavesdropper, and I like to overhear what people's conversations are. I love people in general. I love their stories, and I like tough stories where people have had to struggle in some ways, but they come out the other end with a new sense of discovery, of a new direction that they can take. They have learned from their experiences, and it's those stories of pain and shame and risk that I feel I gravitate to when I'm reading a story, when I'm trying to think about my own life. And so all of those things have conditioned a lot of the work that I make, that I believe is universal, but I try to make it very proximate and very specific to my own experience, but people can come along for the ride with me.
Okay, so you worked as a bartender.
Yes.
How did that influence, or does it, or has it influenced some of what you've created at all?
So I started working in restaurants when I was 16, and I don't know if you remember Miller's Dining Room in Lakewood.
Yes, I do.
I was the sticky bun girl, and that's funny in its own right. But I used to sort of peddle around sticky buns, and it was a lot of our elders used to frequent it. They had a lot of easy to eat food and a really good reputation. And then when I came back from Detroit, I started working at Piccolo Mundo, which was in the neighborhood over here. And oddly, it's right across the street from where Worthington Yards and the gallery is right now.
Right.
And so I got paid to listen to people and to talk to people. And I'm so surprised that I even got paid for it. I loved it. I loved connecting with all different kinds of people, from politicians to lawyers to people who were going to the Wolf's auction. And so it was a wonderful experience of connecting with people, and people that have been my lifelong friends, either as patrons who used to come in, who I knew where they sat, what they drank, how they liked to be treated, all very different, and I think they really appreciated the attentiveness. That I admired what they did, and I got to hear what their lives were like.
Tell me a funny bar story.
Okay. So there was a guy that used to come in. He was a lawyer. Let's call him Joe. Joe used to come in with his lady friend every single day, and he would sit at the same place. I would see them park, and I would have their doors on the rocks with soda and white Zinfandel where they sat, and when they came in, it was ready for them. Well, there was a Guardians game, formerly Indians
game, yeah.
And that particular weekend, Joe came in with his family, including his wife. So when he came up, I said, "Hello, sir, what can I get for you?" And I used my best poker face. And so by the next time that he came in, I got a very huge tip for my discretion. That's pretty good.
Yeah, that's a good story.
Yeah.
That's a good story. In 2020, we as as humans face the pandemic. And for a lot of artists, well, everyone was sheltered inside. The results of it for me was I wrote a full-length feature film that I would have never completed had it not been for the pandemic.
Yes.
How did that time affect you as an artist? What was your engagement? What did you do? Did you seize the moment? Or?
I certainly did, and I think as a practicing artist, as well as a person that really tries to use whatever platform I have to also engage artists who I know were scared to death, as we all were, and but were highly productive. I kind of had a different take in, having a foot in both of these camps. At Yards, at the gallery, we had an exhibition that was called Art Made in the Shutdown. And it was an open call, anybody who wanted to participate. We literally opened the garage door and people could drive their work, and I would pick it out on the street so they didn't even have to come in. And we had a lot of open hours, and people could make individual appointments to come and see their work. But we also had an online virtual exhibition. And from that show, it was like so telling about how people were responding to this time and how that was reflected in the artwork. And of the 100 plus pieces we had, a quarter of that show sold. And so for people who lost opportunities at other galleries, for people who lost shows because everything shut down, it was really, really, I think, a moment of like figuring out how can we do this safely? How can we do this so everybody feels that so they feel calm doing this? And in my own work, I also have a studio that's out on the Bay Arts campus, and I work really large. And so I was able to think about this idea of all of the things and systems and things that weren't working. And that this was an opportunity to kind of flip that script and to figure out different ways in which, not only with my own work, but through the strategic thinking and creative problem solving that I think is innate to me as an artist, I tried to think about that as we were moving through it. So one of the things that happened is we created the Artist Bridge Coalition, which was a group of folks from around the region to be able to talk about how we can be more of a tour de force, how we can be at the table, how we can be more outspoken to the needs of our sector. And it was these conversations were very wonderful for all of us to get together on Zoom and to try to figure out how can we make this arts community better.
I have a clip. I was moved by a clip that you talked about art during the pandemic, and I want to share that with the audience.
Yes.
So here's a clip of Liz Maugans talking about what we did during the pandemic as artists, how we survived.
I'm thrilled to be in this show. It's so wonderful to be around a lot of wonderful friends. So this is coming from a series of some of the work from upstairs called Leftover Casserole. This is all made during the pandemic, feverishly so. When we were shelter in place, I used all of the materials that I already had, almost like a junk drawer at home. I have all of these like pieces, parts. You hold on to the stuff because you think that you're going to use it again, but it doesn't have really a place to go. So my whole studio basement is kind of like a junk drawer. And with that are pieces too that are from my past. I'm a mom, and a mom of 3. I have a husband, and I have lots of other things going on in the world. And so during the pandemic, these pieces were really about my sort of ongoing insomnia and the sort of lack of sleep that I get each night. And so I've been working a lot with this shape, which is like this arc. It's a very simple shape, but I really like it because it looks like a hill, a mountain, a portal of entry. It looks like a gravestone. It looks like a lot of different objects. And in this case, I've been starting doing this work that's about mouse holes. These barely audible themes, these quiet moments of people or things and ideas about loneliness and isolation and kind of coming out. And so all of these sort of scraps, this one's called In Need of Deep Sleep, and this one is called Good Dreams. And so, you know, sunspots and the sort of sun coming up and all these different types of conversations that these two are having with each other, blue skies, and sort of starting to come out of this evolving pandemic, hopefully a better life and a better a humanity is sort of really what I'm thinking about and how we can achieve those things. So come on down and see the show.
Yeah, that was an incredible time. For me, it was pretty cool because I'm a recluse anyway. So
Oh, you are?
I'm a recluse. So I was right in the house. No big deal, you know. Is there a real life situation that you created a piece of art from for yourself
Yes.
or someone else?
Yes. One of the themes that found me as a person in their middle life, with a wide cast of family and friends that are near and dear to me, I have experienced a lot of loss in my own family, and so much of my work is integrating a lot of materials and different feelings that I had about those folks into these large-scale print collages. And I call it Life is Brutiful. The combination of brutal and beautiful. I think beautifully about my time and my connections with them, but there is also the sort of mess of life that I do try to capture in all of these different kinds of, all these beautiful people that I have lost, and that sort of vacant space in which missing and longing and that I hope and know that this is a universal experience that a lot of people have.
Wow, that's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Let's talk about the Zygote Press. How did that come about? Because you were the founder and director for a long period of time. Talk about that.
So I started the Zygote with another young man named Joe Sroka, who was also a twin.
Not the Joe from the bar.
No, different Joe. But Joe was also a bartender. So Joe and then soon after Bellamy Prince and Kelly Novak came, and so the four of us sort of founded Zygote together. This was back in 1996. We were on 72nd and St. Clair in the Carbon Buckeye building, which was the first home of Zygote, and the second home is now on East 30th in Asiatown. And it's in its 27th year. I'm no longer driving the Zygote bus. Jackie Feldman is doing a knock-up job, but I am still fortunate to work there. So I get to use the presses. I get to use all of the beautiful facilities. I get to meet all the resident artists that are here, both local artists and those from around the world. And Zygote became a place for other people to come and use the facilities there. So again, it's about shared resources, about a community collaborative space where people can feel comfortable. We started working with schools and going on site out into the sort of civic space with mobile presses. And so having these participatory, active moments where everybody's able to make prints and understand and demystify the printmaking process, which sometimes is a little tricky, was really, I think, the sort of merit of not only Zygote, but all of these maker spaces that are all across the city. And I think we're very fortunate in Cleveland to have so many of them, from the Cleveland Print Room to Praxis out in Collinwood, and so many more. So we're really, really fortunate in this region to have so many of these accessible spaces for young people to come and to learn a transferable skill, to learn a different kind of passion, and so it's been very exciting to see Zygote be one of the first, and have all of these other organizations like the Morgan Book Arts and Papermaking Conservatory over in the Huff neighborhood, and just countless others just, come up like beacons in their neighborhood.
A dilemma that a lot of artists face in terms of funding. What's your take on funding from the arts? How should one go about finding, funding for arts? So should it be something that the government does? And I know to a certain extent they do. We have organizations that help with funding the arts. What's your take on that?
My take is that artists and creative businesses, which many artists are, and when I say artists, I mean filmmakers, I mean writers, I mean the cultural workforce that surrounds the ticket takers, the people who are, working here today, that are capturing these stories and these conversations. All of these folks need to be at the table and making sure that everything is trickling up, rather than some people who are at the top who are making decisions, anticipating that they think that they know what's best. I really think that that's paramount in where we're at. And this includes people who are working with young people, people who are in the health and human services. And this is why I think it's vital that people are at the table and not just assumed that the money is going in the right direction from the cigarette tax or from the city of Cleveland or from wherever.
So this summer you hosted an art exhibit, so forth, and actually TV20 covered it. Talk about that.
So Love Being Black was the exhibition at the time by two of my favorite artists here in Cleveland, poet Allie Black and her husband, Donald Black Jr. This was a celebration in some ways of their 5-year marriage. And it was also a celebration of people that they have lost from their family, and as well as people that are from the neighborhood. It is a very painful show that that Allie's words, her spoken word poetry, and she's just come out with a new book as well of poetry, and Donald's photographs are sort of collaborating together to be able to tell anything about some of their experiences that they walk by every day, that they've witnessed, that we've heard in the news. The young baby that was shot and killed in Woodland, where the photograph of all of the memorial teddy bears along the Woodland Street hard to fathom that they really wanted to put out there and talk about the terrible loss and you know, the work that they are doing, lifting up folks in their neighborhood by putting murals along Mount Pleasant and Buckeye, and being able to kind of connect with the next generation of makers, I think is going to be wonderful in their next moves to becoming. They would be another great duo to have on your show.
Okay. You're helping me out here. Let's take a clip of the interview with Liz Maugans.
Today, here at Worthington Yards, and you'll be seeing some of the other artists that are painting and drawing in the yards. There is a tradition in France called plein air, where you're really drawing and painting from life. From nature and from all of the different people in the scenery of the beautiful landscape here at Worthington Yards. This is the 6th year of plein air. It brings out a lot of folks that really love representation and to draw from life. Sometimes I think in our galleries with contemporary art that they're in some ways shortchanged. And they don't really get a platform to be able to show their skills, their talents. And so this is a really wonderful opportunity to sort of celebrate them. And so we're really excited to have a really big group of artists. I think we probably have about 30 people this year. And we also combine it with a big, huge cookout. And so people from the building come down, people from the community come out. And so they can have a burger and a dog, and just we have Moises Borges, a Brazilian jazz musician, playing outside, and it is perfect. I think a lot of times artists feel like they're on the fringe, that they're a little bit undervalued and overlooked. I think that these events provide a place for artists to network, to meet different people that are from all different parts of this region. It does it in a sort of welcoming, I think, enriching way, where you're kind of feeding your soul and kind of being able to relax and to be able to just create whatever it is that you see before you. I find that the artists, I think, are very introspective, and a lot of the times musicians, performers, they're by themselves a lot. And so having these events where they get to meet people from the community, they get to meet people can walk around, they can introduce themselves, pass out their business cards, let them know where their shows are, and where they may be exhibiting, are all really positive things about this event. So it's really, really exciting.
Fantastic. So talk about your vision for the arts in downtown Cleveland. I know you have one.
I have a whole bunch, which is my problem. You know, I'm very thrilled that we have an art strategist now at the city. I think the Assembly for the Arts has done a really terrific job at, you know, also navigating our energies. I'm so thrilled that at the City of Cleveland, we have, with Health and Human Services, they've added the arts to that. And so I think looking at the most vulnerable and the people that really need art in their life, all of these things are just fantastic that they're in place. I think that we have a problem understanding where our artists are and where our venues are, performing venues and exhibiting venues, and how we're all connected. Where are all the artists in Cleveland? I don't know. Where are our filmmakers if we wanted to do a film festival? Where, if I'm a council person that's from Buckeye or Fairfax, where are the artists that we want to support from our own neighborhoods to be able to do a mural or a sculpture or something like that? I think that art should be integrated with a poet opening every city council meeting. I think that we should be lifting up an artist from the various different neighborhoods at every single council meeting, and both county and the city. And I think bringing this into our everyday lives and making people understand not only the support of artists in health and human services, but also in economic development and tourism, and trying to get more energies out into places that many people don't go for whatever reasons. They don't know that there are places that exist. We have a program that's happening this Saturday at 10 o'clock at Yards Projects, where we all meet at the gallery. And then one of the artists, Greg Martin, we're going to be going to his studio, which is over on West 25th. And it's one of the other transformer stations that he's turned into his live-work studio. So as a liaison, to bring more people to see what an artist's life is like, to see where they live, to see the taxes that they pay, the commitment that they have to an up-and-coming area that's up, near the sort of Clark Fulton neighborhood. All that stuff is like so exciting to me. And to bring others with me and to turn them on, just like you do with this beautiful conversation that we're having today.
Oh, hey, I like that. I'll bring you on again. Let's talk about the Yards Project.
Yeah.
You're director and curator of the art gallery. How did all that come about?
So it actually was a cold call. We used to support with creating an edition of prints for the Dalad Group, for which my boss, Neil Vinny, commissioned us at Zygote Press. And it was for Pachachka, or Pachacucha, however you want to describe it. But these are these community creative talks that are all over town. And the first 50 people that came, they would get one of these limited edition prints. So that's when I first met him. He invited me over and asked if we'd like to, if Zygote would like to help put some art into this building. And we've done this before at the Westin. We've done this before in different hospitals.
Cleveland Clinic is one, right?
Exactly. So Zygote was so great because it was kind of like a one-stop shop for other people to come with a wide array of different kinds of styles and processes and artists. And so, we were very popular, getting a lot of art into different kinds of projects, city projects and development projects. So when he came and he asked me, he said, I think I'm going to put a gallery in here. You might know somebody that might want to, help me run this. And so I was succeeding from Zygote with great excitement to make my own work, spend more time in the studio, but also to try to do something new. I had been at Zygote for 20 plus years. And so I said, I might like to try my hand at that. I did this at Zygote years and years ago. I ran the gallery for a long time. And so my experience there was born. And what was unusual about this is that I had a whole new roster of people that were not already inclined to the arts, to visual arts, to experience them. A lot of people that were newcomers to Cleveland, a lot of people who were graduating from some area of school, and this was their first apartment. And so I had a new palette of people to turn on to artists and their work. And it really became a tether to the rest of Cleveland. It was in the Warehouse District. There were two other galleries at the time, but since then they've closed. And so it's really the only exhibiting venue that's in the Warehouse District. And so there's over 3,500 people that are down in that neighborhood, again, right across the street from my old bartending home, Piccolo Mundo, right across the street. And so it really was this initiative, not unlike Zygote, where we want to turn on as many people as possible. We want the building not to be this fortress, but we want it to be welcoming, extravagantly welcoming, and to have these different kinds of connective moments and conversations with the people who live there and with other art fans and art connoisseurs and people who wanted to see more art in that neighborhood.
And what's the building?
So the building is called Worthington Yards.
Worthington Yards.
Yes,
okay.
and it had been there for 100 years as a company not unlike Sears and Roebuck. It was a warehouse for tools, and then it sat vacant for about 20 years, and then Dalad Group came and they developed it into rental apartments. And so there's a lot of green space. There's lots of history that is from the building that is exposed in the design.
You have other events there too.
We do. We I think when they came out during Donald and Ali's show, we had the plein air in the yards, which is where artists who draw from observation in nature. We have it every single year, and they come out. Moises Borges, the Brazilian jazz musician, was there. We have a cookout, and so people can come out and they can look and watch all the people who are drawing from the beautiful flowers and landscaping. And so if people are interested, it's a staple. And we always get a beautiful day, and it just so happened to be yet another one of those days when Channel 20 came out.
So how many residents lived? Do you know how many residents are?
Yeah, there's about 98 apartments, and there's about 200 people, I think, that live there.
98 apartments.
And we have 55 dogs. And it's a beautiful space. And since then, there's another building project that's very similar, filled with local art. We must have over 250 artists work. So So part of this whole initiative was really investing in the creative economy here, and like on a scale that nothing comes close. I see this as a huge opportunity for every single stinking developer who's in this town to invest in art, design, people who are creating their websites, taking photography for their spaces, and making an accreditation for developers who do invest in the arts and giving them a sticker of approval, and you know, the folks that don't, well, that's you know, they can be shamed into not being a bigger part of this beautiful, vibrant energy that we have going on at Yards and Tinnerman. So
what would be your dream art project, if you have one?
I do. It's called Open DAM, and DAM stands for Data Artist Metrics, or mapping, Data Artist Mapping. And this is where we would be using, we don't have any active data about arts and culture here. It's not something that I don't know how many artists are in Cleveland or Cuyahoga County. Where are they located? How are they connected? And a lot of the ways this works is they would be using machine learning and data visualization for us to ask questions about, you know, what is the most, what does success look like for a filmmaker? What does success look like? Are they 35? Have they shown a film at Cleveland International Film Festival? Have they, are they white? Are they college educated? Are they, you know, asking all these different kinds of questions so we can better understand how we can accelerate more people to connect, for me to understand how my node on that sort of wheel of visualization can grow, how I can get more leverage connecting with people like you, Cal. I'm so surprised that we've never met before, but now we are connected. And this would show on you, me, and Christopher Johnson would have a connection. And so I first located this when I saw that it doesn't really matter what kind of art or theater or writing that you do. It's because you're super connected. And I am a super connector from Zygote, from Can, from Yards, from being an artist myself. And so my node keeps getting bigger and bigger. And if we can activate this, and if we can get more people and work with all of the wonderful folks who are in machine learning and AI over at Case or at Cleveland State at Levin College, I think we could give ourselves a better understanding of our arts and culture ecosystem and how to advance it.
You said a mouthful.
I know.
What do you enjoy most about being an artist?
I guess I enjoy seeing young people getting turned on by their experiences of something that they've produced. The pride that they have, the light bulb moment. I teach at Cleveland State University, and I'm very excited to take a lot of young people out into the field with both classes that I teach. One is called Museum and Collections, and the other one is called Artist in Communities. And so those young, wonderful undergrad and graduate students, they make business cards, and we get out and we get to go to Artist Archives of the Western Reserve. We get to go into the print room at Cleveland Museum of Art. We get to go to RBX and see what Jessica Davis is doing. We get to go and see how nonprofits, for-profits, independent artists, and collections all operate. How did they build up? How do you support that? How do you sustain it? And so for me, it's very exciting to see the connections that are made for young people. So we have a brain gain instead of people getting their degrees here and leaving. And being able to see that there is an oasis of opportunity here in Cleveland. We have a full city that is really affordable at half price, and trying to get as many people to stay here. I'm pretty happy if we don't ever get another person here, because we can get anywhere in 10 minutes, right?
Right.
And I do think that if we can make the people that are currently here, and I'm talking people that are in the Southeast neighborhoods and East Cleveland, and if we can take care of these places already, and the artists and the creative workforce and the people who want to start something, let's start there.
Well said. Thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you.
I really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
My pleasure. I want to thank my special guest, Liz Maugans, for hanging out with us today on Creative Focus. So that's it, Cleveland, we're out. But remember, a true artist is not only inspired, but inspires others. I'm Cornell Calhoun III for TV20 and Creative Focus. Until the next time becomes our time, be well, be safe.